it's the things that you do. And it's a smile on your face. And as time goes by, I know I'm in a better place. I'm in a better place.
Good evening, everyone. How are you doing? Welcome to my podcast, Buying and Selling with Bree. I am Labrita, and I am a realtor located in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Tonight is just going to be me. I'm just going to be on here for 30 minutes, and I'm just going to talk about the home buying process and what you need to know about the home buying process. It is a lot of videos out there now. Everybody should know, honestly, what the buying process is, but there are still a lot of people that don't know. So I am going to go through the buying process when I be talking to my clients. First of all, I want to say welcome again to my podcast. When you are getting ready to buy a house, you really need to start. The first thing you need to do is decide when you want to buy a house. The next step is you be like, okay, let me save my money. If you're not for sure, you do know that you need to start saving money and, working on your credit and paying bills down. The closer you get to the time about when you want to buy a house, you contact a realtor. Me, Labrita Dews, top producer, retired Army veteran. Call me. I'll make sure I give you the best of my ability. I will send you to a lender. But before we go to the lender, I will do a buyer's consultation to see exactly where you are. I'll send you to a lender. The lender will tell you what you need to do. Make sure whatever you do, when you go to the lender, everything that he asks you to do, make sure you do that. Because that is the only way that I, as a realtor, and some other realtors will be able to show you houses, because we must have a pre-qual or pre-approval letter so we will know exactly what price range that you're in. It doesn't do any good for us to go look at a $300,000 house and maybe you're only approved for, $250,000. That's not good. And also, when you're buying in today's market, this market that we have right now, it's really a tight market. There are not a lot of homes on the market like it used to be. There are still multiple offers on every property. People are still bypassing the appraisal. So it's like you really got to be prepared for this market when you do. You also have to have a lot of patience as well, because sometimes you have to put in 10 to 15 offers just to get one offer. It's just the way the market is. So let me say this. When you are buying a house, once you get your pre-approval letter and once you start looking, I'll take you out to look. We'll set up an appointment. We'll take you out to look at the house. I always give my clients a folder, and it will have a home buying folder on it. It'll have a list of things that you check off. What did you like? What did you not like? You'll have a that and a pen to make notes of the property, that you want, because now in this market, sometimes it's hard to go back and look at a house. You'd be like, well, can we go back and look at the house? And by the time you want to go back and look at it, most of the time, sometimes that house is already gone. So I always give you a folder with my information and with a home buying sheet in there, and you get to, make your notes about the house. Once we look at a house, it'll probably take a couple of days. Sometimes it take a couple of weeks, and sometimes it take months. It all depends on the situation. And most of the time, it really all depends on the pre-approval amount that you are at. Because now most of the houses, no, it's not most of the houses. If you're looking to buy a house, it's really good to be approved over $300,000. And back years ago, when you got approved for $250,000 and $275,000, that was a good price range. Now that is not. When you buy a house, a lot of the builders have gotten to the point, it depends on which builder that you look at. if you're looking for a new construction builder, most of the time, the new construction builders, some of them will let you pick out what you want, and some of them will give you packages. Like they'll have the color cabinets, they'll have the color tile, or they'll have the carpet. So one package will be the brown cabinets, one package will be the white cabinets, one package will be the light color cabinets. So certain builders like that, they already have packages. But there are builders, I think sometimes, your bigger builders, that they will let you go in and select everything on your own. But that is definitely dependent on the builder. So as far as that, yes, you can pick what you want, but you got to make sure that that builder allows that. And also too, when you are looking at a new build, please remember that it takes anywhere from 6 to 8 months or longer to build a house. So you have to be patient, and you have to understand that things happen. Yes, sometimes the builders say, well, I thought the house was going to be ready this day. Or sometimes it is their fault, and sometimes it's not their fault. Just please understand that supplies, there's a shortage of supplies. There's a shortage of workers. So I make sure that my client understands that. So if they say that the house is going to be ready in June, I'll be like, okay, y'all, I need y'all to give the builder an extra 30 days. And most of the time it end up being that extra 30 days. But I do prepare my clients for the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. And I also, the main thing I make them to be sure that they are prepared for is to have patience. And when you're buying a new build, these lenders now, they will want you to go through and apply at their lender. That is because they probably want to make sure that you qualify for their house, because 99% of the builders now, they're working off of a list. So if you see the Labrita house or the Who house, it might be 10 people on that list. But before they even put you on that list, some builders, they want you to be qualified for that property. Again, when that time's come, every builder does things differently, but I'm just letting you know how it is. And also too, when you finally get an offer accepted on a house, the earnest money is usually 1% of the offer price. So if you have a $300,000 contract, your earnest money is going to be $3,000. So when you do put an offer on a new construction house, make sure that that is what you want, because some builders have a clause, about everything. When you can get your money back, can you get your money back, or how long do you have before you change your mind on this contract? Make sure you read everything, because that's what I do. That is just one of the things. Sometimes, even on new construction, some of the things that you pick out, like you might have picked out this brick. They might come back and tell you, oh, well, that brick, we can't get this brick anymore. So then you have to make sure that, you have another selection of brick. It doesn't happen too much, but it did happen to my client that just closed on a house. She had to select another brick, which she already had a second option, because they did tell her that when she did the contract, that if the brick is not available, which one, would you like? So she picked her brick, and she was okay with it. Even though her first choice was better, she still liked the one that she had. And when you're building a new construction home, one day you'll go over there and you'll see the foundation laid. One day you'll go over there and it won't be nothing done. You might go over there for 2 weeks and it's nothing done. Because every house that's being built have a certain stage that they supposed to be at a certain time. So it's just not like they're building your house. They're building other people's houses too. Then you'll go in, you'll talk to the salesperson, or I'll call the salesperson. I'll say, hey, it hadn't been any movement on my client's house. What's going on? And then the next day you go over there and then you see, some framing going up, or then you'll see some sheetrock go up. So once you see the sheetrock going up, and the process is going to move a little bit faster. But do not be upset a little. You can be upset, but not a lot, when you don't see no movement on your house, because each stage of the house, has a permitted stage. And when you're buying a new construction, you as the buyer can also get an inspection on your house. It's out of your pocket. The money comes out of your pocket. It doesn't come out. You can have someone come in and do an inspection for you. And while there is no sheetrock up, like if the plug is wrong or whatever, they can fix it at that time. Because once that sheetrock goes up, you can't fix anything. So it is a good thing to get an inspection done on a house. I have a question here that I'm going to answer. It says, I have had many clients who have said that contracts are falling through very often after the seller is pulling out. Any advice for upfront things to look to avoid for this? Now, this question here, it should have been answered really by your realtor. A lot of the times, sometimes maybe, when sellers that are really ready to sell their house, they're going to take an offer on their house. If they pull out, something must have happened, or their bill fell through, or something personal happened. So the seller can pull out, but that'll be something that you and your agent need to work out to see. You'll get your money back if the seller pulls out. So that is something that your agent and the seller's agent need to talk about to see what happened, why they pulled out. That is something that I really can't answer, because it has happened to me, but it was like the seller they decided not to move most of the time. But other than that, that is something that you need to really try to work out with your agent. Another thing too, on a new build, every builder that builds, they have a certain type of appliances that they use. They can't go in and change the appliances what they want. Whatever appliances that they give you, that's the one that you have to give. Builders only give no refrigerator. They give the stove and the microwave and the dishwasher. So if they have like Kenmore or whatever, and you want an LG, you have to wait until you close to get that LG. Everything is a package. The builder now, like that color granite, if you don't like that color granite, then you can change it after you get in. But also be mindful too, when you're going to select a new build, that house that you pick, the builder has certain lots that house can be built on. So the 2-story can be built over here. This house can be built over here. And every house have to have the same elevation, can't be beside one another. They're not really supposed to put the same color brick beside one another, but sometimes they do. They can't help it, but it won't have the same, elevation. So sometimes too, they'll be like, well, your house can go on this lot, and this lot. But you might like a certain elevation, and the elevation that you want, it may not can be on any of those lots too. So that does happen a lot. That's why sometimes you want to, try to get there and make a decision. And sometimes you just can't go home and say, oh, I'm going to lay down and I'm going to think about it. And then when you come back in the morning, that lot is gone, that house is gone. And then you just have to say, okay, well, what do you have left? And nowadays, when you go home and you think about what you're going to buy, especially if you already know the builder that you want, if you've already picked out your house and they've already told you which lots is going to be, and you'll be like, okay, well, I'll call you back in a couple of days to let you know, which lot I want the house on. Well, you can call back in a couple of days, or even that evening, somebody might have put a contract on that lot. And then somebody might have just say, well, we're not going to build this house again until next month. And then you are on the waiting list. Being that the market is like it is, and being that there are a shortage of supplies, every builder has a waiting list. Every builder only release so many houses per month. Some of them release 5, some of them release 4, and some of them release 2, and some of them don't release any. It really depends on the builder. So when you go with your realtor to a new construction, Those are questions that the salesperson will normally say, we are not releasing this month. We've already had all our houses released for this month, but we can put your name on a list for next month or however it go. I have another question. It says, is this the new norm? Houses are now 500 and more and not even big of a home space. Looking to confirm, will it ever go back to normal? I cannot confirm to you that it will go back to normal. I can't forecast the future. Right now, we really don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow, because the realtors now, not the realtors, the builders now, we can leave out of here today. That house can be 345 and we go back tomorrow and that house can be 350. This is just the way that the market is. Builders are raising their prices according to how much that they have to pay for the supplies. There are houses, $500,000, that's a good number. But anybody now that's buying a house, you really need to try to be a new build. Let me talk about a new construction. I'm talking new construction. Anybody that wants a decent new construction, you might want to start at 350. I can't say if there's anything under 350 or not, or, it can be today, but like I said, tomorrow, it just won't be there. So that's why it is so good to try to be approved for 350. Speaking of a new bill, you be 350. Now, if you are approved for 300 or less and there's no new bills out there, and then you're going to buy a pre-owned, please be prepared for a bidding war. Every house that's on the market goes into a bidding war. That's just the way it is now. This is the new norm for us. It's a bidding war. So people are paying over asking. People are bypassing the appraisal. And the main thing is, you have a lot of people now that are paying cash for houses. And that's what you have. It's just the way that it is. Texas, this part of Texas is not the only one suffering like that. Everybody is doing that. Everybody is doing that. So it's a tight market out there, but I will tell you again, when it's time to go look for a house, please be sure that you are ready to go buy a house. Make sure your time is very useful with that realtor. Don't just be out there and say, oh, thank you for a nice outing today. Oh, well, I thought we was looking to buy houses. Well, do that. And another thing, if you can't afford a new build and you're looking at a pre-owned, always have a specific area that you want to live. You have a number 1, number 2, and number 3 choice. The reason why I say that, it might not be nothing in number 1. Well, we can go over here to this area. We can go over here to that area. Always be flexible in your areas that you would like to live. That'll make it much easier for me as your realtor. It'll make it much easier for any realtor, actually, because they'll be like, okay, well, we started over here. We don't see anything. We got to go over here now. And most of the time, the people will find stuff, in that other range. So just be flexible, be patient, and just do what you need to do and to buy a house. But the main thing I will tell you, when you get ready to buy this house, please make sure that all your ducks are in order. The lender's going to ask you he's going to look at your credit. He's going to look at your tax returns. He's going to look at your bank statements. He's going to look at everything, your 401k. They're going to look at all of that. They're going to make sure your debt to ratio is what it is. Some people be like, well, my cousin got approved for this and my cousin got approved for that. Well, you can't determine what you get approved for by somebody else, because your debt to ratio might be different. Your credit might be your credit score might be a little lower, or their credit score might have been higher, or they may have had, more money to put down. So do what you are supposed to do. We don't worry about what everybody else has. Just do what you need to do, and everything will work out all right. It's this home buying process can be very stressful. That's why you have a professional. That's why you have an expert like me. I can help you. I can guide you through. If there is something that I don't know, I will pick up that phone and I will call and I will get your answer for you. So it's just, I don't want y'all to get discouraged in this market. It is rough. It is tight. But just keep pushing and keep hustling. Just keep putting offers in, and eventually, you'll get an offer. So I just want to say again, when you're going to look to buy a house, when you decide that you want to buy a house, make sure you had already started saving. After you decide you want to buy a house, you make sure you contact a realtor. And after that, the realtor will send you to the lender. When you go to the lender will tell you, what documents you need, everything that you have to upload to get a pre-approval. Realtors, we do not take you to look at a house unless we have a pre-approval letter. We need to know where you are. Everything has to be in order for us to go. The lender has to say, hey, this person is good to go. This is what they qualify for. If they can get down payment assistance, get some down payment, then, we can. But a lot of times, a lot of the people are not qualifying for down payment now because they make over $100,000. And speaking of that, sellers are not paying closing costs. So don't even ask. It's just that type of market out there now where people are bypassing the appraisal. People are sometimes paying for title. They're paying for survey. It's just a lot of things that the buyer is doing to get a deal now. But definitely one of them is not paying closing costs. And also too, don't go in, say, oh, well, I'm going to see what they say. And you give the house $10,000 lower than what is on the market. Not a house nowadays is being below the asking. Everything is above asking price. Yep. This again, I got a question here. Said no longer paying closing costs. No, it's not closing costs. Sellers are not giving you anything towards closing costs. You as the buyer will still have closing costs to pay. But sometimes you say, well, I want to see, can they give me $2,000 or something like that? But sellers they're not paying closing costs. It's just that type of loan. Are you able to get more than one offer in at a time? Does that negatively impact you? Speak to your realtor about that. With me, I don't do that. If my client put an offer in on this house, I'll just wait to see, what that offer does. But in the meantime, while we still have an offer in, that doesn't mean that we stop looking, especially if it says multiple offers. We still continue to look just in case something, if that don't come through, we'll be like, okay, good. I'm glad we kept looking because this house, came on the market. So, that's what I do. So, but otherwise, if you have a realtor, you just make sure that you ask him or her, do they put in offers on more than one property? As far as impacting you, I wouldn't know that. If you're talking about impacting you as far as going to a lender, I recommend that you do have two lenders. Once you see what one's saying, if you might not like that, I do recommend that you at least have two lenders that you apply for, but don't go over that because it will probably may impact your credit score. But 99% of the time, if that lender, both of the lenders would come close, then you'd be like, oh, okay, well, they was right then. So again, just make sure you do what you need to do as the buyer. And it'll make my job much easier for you if we all are on the same page. If whatever the lender tells you to do, you do it. And if there's anything that you need help in, me as your realtor, I'm gonna do what I can to do. That's just me. I'm gonna bust my behind to do whatever needs to be done for you. But you as the buyer, you got to make sure that you do what you need to do. The one thing as a buyer, in which I say, once you apply for this loan, please don't go out and buy no car. Please don't go out and buy no furniture, because they will know. As soon as you go out and buy anything, bam, the lender gets a notice. So that's going to hurt, because they're going to call you and they was like, hey, what did you get? Why is this extra $10,000 on here? And then they're going to be like, okay, well, we can't approve your loan because you got this. It happens all the time. So once you get approved for a loan and you physically start looking, once you submit that application and trying to get approved for a loan, no car, no house, no credit cards, don't do anything. Don't apply for no new credit cards. Don't go buy no furniture. Don't go do anything. And a lot of the times, the lender will tell you if you need to cut back. They'll say, oh, you need to cut back on buying this. You need to cut back on buying that. Kind of cut back on eating out, because that's what's hurting a lot of people now, shopping. That's what's hurting a lot of people. I have another question here. It says, what area would you say is growing the fastest? Oh my gosh. The entire DFW area is just growing extremely fast. Chisholm Trail, Saginaw, Forney. I mean, everywhere they're growing. DeSoto, Cedar Hill, it's just not one particular area now that's growing. They're growing everywhere. And a lot of people now, the city is getting crowded, or people are moving out. A lot of people are going out to the Justins and the Ponders and the Crumbs and the Roanoke's and stuff like that. They're moving out. The Weatherfords and the Springtowns and the Azles. A lot of people are moving to them areas because it's just getting so crowded in the city. And a lot of times, depending on where you move at in those areas like Weatherford and Springtown and Azle, sometimes you can find a half an acre. Sometimes you can say being a half an acre or acre. There are regular subdivisions out there that they have. Every city has regular subdivisions that the houses are close. But then sometimes people want to say, oh, I need an acre. Well, then you have to go on that side. So as far as the area that's growing, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. And speaking of growing, and speaking of that, interest rates are high. So if you already have a pre-approval letter, and you have a realtor, maybe your interest rate or went up a little bit, or sometimes it'll make the higher the interest rate, you'll qualify for less. Sometimes that is something that you need to take up with your lender. So you can still buy a house. People need to be flexible about it. People need to understand the market. Yes, it is frustrating to put in an offer, especially when you fell in love with a house and somebody else got that house and you went well above the offer. Somebody came in and they got it. That's what's happening now. Some houses have 20 and 30 offers on it. One of my listing had like 40 offers. So it was like, you just pick one. You just go through and the sellers looks at all of them, and the seller is the one that determines which offer they pick. The realtor is not the one. All offers are presented to the seller as they come in, and the seller is the one that say when they're going to stop taking offers, and they are the ones that decide which offer they want. And they will. I know sometimes when you have a listing or whatever, you put in an offer where the agent haven't got back with me yet. That's because the seller hasn't made a decision yet. And I know sometimes we'll say, oh, seller will have a decision by Monday. Sometimes it's just been so many offers, or sometimes something personal have came up and they may not have had a decision until Wednesday. And then sometimes you just have to look in MLS and the agent has updated it, and they just had so many offers that they didn't have time to call you back. So again, if you got any questions, or if you're looking to buy a house in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, whether it's a pre-owned or new construction, or if you just have any questions about anything, I service them all, buyers and sellers. If you're looking to lease, I do it. If you're a veteran, whoop, please call me. I can definitely help you with that area. I can help you with anything you want. Just give me a call at 817-975-9284, and I will do everything I need to do, my best of my ability, to make sure that we can get this transaction done. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Buying and Selling with Bree. I will be back next week. Next week will be an hour, and I will be speaking again on the process of home buying, and I will have a special guest here. I'm just waiting on her to respond back. But yes, you can still buy a house. Never give up. Always fight. Realtors, we are always in your corner as long as you do what we need you to do and what the lender says to do. Thank you all again for tuning in, and I really appreciate you all tuning in with Buying and Selling with Bree.
It's the things that you do.